Welcome to Creating Success in the Mess, where we talk about just that, creating success in the mess of this thing we call life.
We're your hosts, Corey and Whitney, a husband and wife team that does life and business together.
In this podcast, we share our struggles and funny moments as we have journeyed growing our family, our faith, and businesses.
We share inspiration, motivation, and practical tips and tricks to help you build yourself and a life you love.
We invite you to join us every week on the podcast, and we can't wait to create success in the mess together. Okay, welcome to this episode of Creating Success in the Mess. I am super excited about this one because we have one of my all-time favorite people on here ever. Leslie Waters is joining us today, and she is, to tell a little about Leslie from my perspective, she is one of the most amazing human beings there is. Like I said, I'm super excited about this because this is, one of my favorite people. She is a super creative individual. You own a furniture refinishing and painting business called Simply Brushed. And she is an entrepreneur spirit at heart. She has so many creative ideas, and she's always willing to lend a listening ear and an idea anytime that you need it. And, one of my favorite things about you is you're doing this messy mom life. And I really resonate with that because I am all of the things that I listed off, that you are creative and entrepreneur, but I'm also a messy mom. And so I think that it is so exciting to have you join us because you are one of us. And I love that.
Wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you so much. And right back at you, girl.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm messy. I am so messy, and I only have one. So whenever I'm telling a messy story, I was like, Whitney's got three though, But yeah, so I'm a single mom. I am in a relationship. I have a wonderful partner. I still feel like a single mom, just in the sense that, I'm here when she wakes up, I'm here when she comes home from school, when she goes to bed, and, his
Right.
hours are different from mine. And that's kind of how it is when you're an entrepreneur too. Like, you're working, at 11 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever the case may be. But, yes, messy for sure. Definitely entrepreneurial. I've had a lot of businesses, and many have failed. That is for sure. And I really like sharing that because I feel like people have this expectation that they're going to start a business and it's going to either succeed and be wonderful, which many are. But if there's any bumps in the road, or if it does fail, I think people take that, really to heart, instead of extracting some of the lessons and taking those to the next business idea.
Yes. Yep.
And so that's what I try to do, is think about, all right, so this one didn't work, why? And what can I do with this next one? For the longest time, I had a recruiting business, and I really enjoyed that. But I have to say, when you and I got to be pretty close, which was about, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, I just started having a passion. I was watching you and your husband painting. You guys were painting beds for your daughters. I remember they were
On
painting
Facebook Live, back when Facebook Live was like the thing.
Yeah. And I was watching it, and my daughter was with me, and we were like, that is so cool. Oh my gosh. And so I remember asking you about paint, and you sent me some, and that's kind of how it all got started.
Yeah. Yep. I love how, like, your story, you did recruiting, and you did, like the more of the business side of things. And then, you found your creative, your creative bone in you. And now, you're using your creative as your business. I love that because that is that's how my story kind of is too. And I think that there's such an expectation that we do, the professional or the desk job, the type of career that, that is considered professional. And a lot of times I think people just discount and discredit that your creative can be a business also. Like it can make you good money. I think it's totally like I'm all for being here. Like, you know, you're an artist, you're a creative, you're a baker, you're whatever that uses your creative genius. Like, let's just do that thing and don't focus on feeling like you have to like appease people and you know, doing these other jobs. And I love how like you have, you know, this done all these different things and discovered, you know, little bits and parts of you throughout all of that. And you just have kind of taken it and turned it into like, you know, something amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. I will say, like, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about like before I was a recruiter, and that was like a very technical, you know, it wasn't 9 to 5, but like it was very, you know, you go in there, you sit down at your desk, you know, and I did a lot of technical recruiting. But prior to that, I sold furniture, I managed furniture stores, and growing up, I would paint furniture. I was just thinking about this the other day, or reupholster a chair, and it was never great, but I did it. I made carpets. I made these I got when right before going to college, me and my friend got remnants and we made these like checkerboard carpets with borders and everything. And when I think back to all that, I'm like, I always had this in me. Like my dad used to be, it was like a joke, but I think there might have been a little frustration in there. He's like, why can't you just order off the menu?
Yeah.
And I was like, because I want that, but I want to change it a little bit. And I feel like that I tried to tell him this the other day. I'm like, Dad, that was me being creative. He's like, no, that was just you being picky. And I was like, all right, well, you know, a little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. Well, my favorite story is how we met, which is, I think, very different from what people would expect. So do you want to tell the story?
Yep. I'll start it and then you kind of like say parts of it too. So it's not like so one-sided.
Perfect.
So like you said, I don't know, like what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. We were doing like Facebook Lives, and I was at that time we were in Florida. We had moved to Florida, and I was like really struggling. We were new in this town, and I don't know how much you know about Florida, but there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of old people there, and there are minimal doctors to accommodate for all of these people. And I was going through, I literally thought I was dying. Like, I mean, I was telling like everyone, you know, I don't think I'm making it. It feels like I'm dying. And then I was, you know, started having anxiety because I had convinced myself that I was dying, you know, all this stuff. And we were in this new town, and in Florida, you pretty much need to get on a doctor's wait list to be a new patient for like a year and a half out. So there is no actually just like moving there and then, you know, calling and being like, hey, I'm a new patient, I need to get in. And then they get you in within, you know, a reasonable time period. It's literally like a year. And that's so I was, you know, I'm dying and we just moved here. I don't have a doctor. And so I was trying to get into a doctor to see like what is going on. And I had finally got into someone, and she did blood tests, and she said, oh, it's your thyroid. And it was like a little bit, I can't even remember now which way it went, high or low, but it was literally just a little bit off. And I know that, like, you know, the tests come back and they say things, and you can feel way worse than like what, you know, the paper is showing you. And so I was like, okay, it's a little bit off, but I feel like I'm, you know, dying. And so she was telling me it's my thyroid, come back in 6 weeks and we'll see what happened. And I was like, I can't wait another 6 weeks. And then somebody had suggested acupuncture. And so I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just try acupuncture. And I'm getting, you know, I tried all these like holistic like things. I'm real big into like researching natural holistic like stuff. And so I was trying all these things, and my mom was like, well, you know, Leslie has like a thyroid situation too. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And so then I think she reached out to you, or you guys connected, and then we connected about the thyroid, because I was dying and there was no help, and my mom didn't know anything about the thyroid, and so it was just kind of grasping at all these straws at this point. And so then we kind of connected about the thyroid, and we became friends on Facebook, and then that's where you saw we were doing our Facebook Live painting videos and stuff. And so that, I think, is our initial connection point, but it actually is so much deeper than that.
Yes, it is.
Than that little connection. We actually are cousins. So when I say my mom was like, your cousin Leslie, and I was like, no, I had no idea. It's because like we are actually cousins. But we didn't grow up knowing each other.
Nope. Not at all. And it's not just because we lived in different parts of the country. Nope. It is, I think the right word to use would be, family dysfunction.
Yes, 100%.
Very dysfunctional.
Yep. Very broken.
Very broken.
Yes.
And I think as our grandmother was dying this past year, I think I found out more. I don't remember if it was you told me or your mom, that this wasn't just like our moms that don't talk. Like this was, their parents and so on and so on. This was a case of not breaking the cycle. I think we hear that term all the time now, and that was 100% what it is. And even now, like our family, I don't want to make anyone angry, but I do think like you and I are probably the ones that talk the most. I mean, we never met. That's the other thing. We've never met each other.
Right.
It's just that we didn't grow up like as cousins and go visit each other. We've never even met, but
in real life, like person, like
right.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Our daughters, your oldest daughter's the same age as mine. But yeah, we've never met, but yet you're the first person I think of to ask a question.
Yeah.
I think with my business, with my furniture business, I joke that, I got a master's from Google and a PhD from YouTube, but it was really you. It was really like all the 9,746 texts at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is amazing. Like, our parents, well, it would be our moms. They have definitely had like the disconnect and broken relationship for sure.
And it's okay to say, I don't want to cut it, but it is okay to say that this is mostly all falls on my mother.
There is a lot of like, dysfunction, and then there's dysfunction, there's boundary issues, there's just broken chains, there's just so much that goes into the whole dynamic. And like you said, it wasn't just in our little, like aunt, uncle, brother, sister. It was actually in like our grandma, like her relationship with some of her siblings, or, it actually, is so much more than just our little, I don't know. Like it's not nuclear, but like,
it's not just our moms.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just our moms.
And then I think it is amazing how this is there and it just kind of sits there and everyone just kind of leaves it be, how it is. But for whatever reason, the stars aligned and we connected, and then, we started developing like a relationship and talking about, our businesses and in mom life, like messy mom stuff.
Mom life.
Yes. Yeah. And then, as like time has gone on, really what's so amazing about it is not only are you like on speed dial, like I text and I'm like, I don't know about you, but this is like a really bad, sucky day. Like sometimes as a mom, I just want to run away. And sorry, I know you didn't ask, but I text you and I told you this because you're the one that's going to understand and not judge me. So like, that's the point where we are now. But I think that it's the amazing thing about that is that it actually, we actually have taken all of that brokenness that actually still kind of exists in,
Mhm.
the whole situation, and we've like mended it together,
Yes.
right here with this
With
little
just us.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I don't want to say just us. Like I did start talking to your mom. She reached out to me initially, which was great. And so that was probably, I don't know, 7 years ago or so. But yeah, I would say where the cycle really was broken, it was you and I. You and I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
And we didn't set out to do it. We just,
No.
we had things in common. We had tough things going on. This is during
Uh-huh.
the pandemic.
Yep. Yep.
This was during my divorce, which was during the pandemic. Um, so I wasn't a recruiter then. I was an out of work recruiter then. And my daughter and I were watching tons of flea market flip and Uranus and Corey's videos. And we were like, let's do this. This would be therapeutic. Like let's
Uh-huh.
let's find some furniture on the side of the road and make it beautiful. And so and then, 4 years later, now we're here.
Right. Yeah. I think it's amazing because like there is so much brokenness and there is so much dysfunction and just just yucky stuff that we all have, just messes,
Yep.
like we all have that, our family is like really messy, but
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter what family you're in, there's a mess there. Like that's just a guarantee.
Yeah.
And then I think like our connection, like you just said, we were going through so much and we were just like genuinely authentically connecting like through all of that. And now I mean I think that's just the foundation of like what breaking that chain of disconnection is really from, is the fact that we like genuinely are healing and discovering ourselves and doing the messy parts like together, instead of acting, like we are behind a wall from a distance. We're good, we're perfect, we're, like
Right.
all put together,
The
like we,
Facebook syndrome.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Where
like we
you
actually
feel
show
bad.
up,
Yeah.
with our messy parts, and then
Yeah.
neither one of us are judging your mess or my mess, and so
Yeah.
it just creates this like genuine authentic like situation where we can heal that generational baggage and recreate a connection, and then we're making like a change and difference for our kids
Our
and
kids.
their
Yep.
kids and their kids. And I
Yep.
love that. I love that about our story.
Yeah, I do too. That we're modeling this for our kids. And I think, as you just said it, I think I want to make sure my daughter, I know she sees how close we are, and I know she sees how much I appreciate you, but I don't know if she knows that we got here through hard stuff that happened before us that wasn't our fault. That's the thing
Right.
too, to
Yep.
remember. We were born into this.
Yes. Yeah.
We had no choice, but we chose to break the cycle. Again, it wasn't even like purposely like,
Uh-huh.
hey, let's break the cycle. It was like you said, authentic and genuine.
Right.
But as you said that, I was thinking, I do want to make sure my daughter knows that, it didn't just, it's not all rosy, because
Yep.
I'm going to say the word Facebook syndrome again. I'm sure there's another word for it, but it's so hard to go on social media and see what looks like a perfect life
Yes. Yep.
and then feel, I know my daughter has said to me, she's like, well, other people, they don't have to deal with this stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe they're not dealing with the exact problem you're talking about, but they're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with something.
Yeah.
People just don't want to talk about it. They might not be comfortable, but
Mm-hmm.
we're all dealing with something.
Yeah.
We just don't put it out there on social media.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be something that our kids struggle with, just because we didn't have social media as much growing up. And I know you're the older one. I'm kidding, I'm the older one. But
Yeah, you're the older. You're at the old end of the cousins, and I'm
I
at
am.
the young.
I know. I
Well,
totally
speak
am.
for yourself, ma'am.
I'm the second born, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I'm the second born.
And
Yeah.
I'm the
So there's,
second youngest.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a big gap there.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Well, so you probably worked with social media like in college. In college for me, I was just figuring out what a cell phone, we were just starting to look at
Right.
cell phones. So
Yeah.
but with our kids having this so much in their faces, I think what I really want to make sure that my daughter knows and understands is it's not what it appears to be.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
And I wish more people would put that out there. I
Yeah.
feel like I read this quote the other day, this article from one of my favorite actresses, Kerry Washington, and she was sharing a family secret. And she said something that really hit me. She said, "You are only as sick as your secrets."
Yep. Yes. Yep. Yep.
And I thought, wow, that's big. And she was saying that because there was not everyone in her family loved the idea that she was going to talk about this publicly.
Right.
And so she chose to because of that. And I thought that was really brave and
Yes.
it made me like her even more.
Yes. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Whenever you have a secret, you're hiding something, you're not showing up as your authentic, genuine self. And it doesn't have to be, like a major, massive, secret. It can just
Right.
be, general, like, like you were talking about with Facebook, like for me as a mom, you get on there and you see these amazing vacations and these,
Yep.
these moms that are like,
Curated lives, I call it.
yeah, yes,
Curated.
yeah. And then I'm over here like, God, if we were going to go in a car 10 hours away, I can guarantee you there would be fighting and crying and screaming. And you look at that on there and it's just, where is all that in your life? Like, what
Yeah.
did you do right? Which, then makes you feel like you need to show up and not show or talk about that part of
Absolutely.
you. And so then at that point, you're kind of just keeping a secret in a sense.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, as you're saying this, something that I think again, it was part of that conversation with my daughter that I said, so I had a very toxic relationship with her father. And there was a lot of trauma, particularly in the end, for her and I. And when I was finally comfortable to start talking about that to other people, I found other people who had been through the same thing or something similar. And they were like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for saying, like, I don't have anyone to talk to this about.
Mm-hmm.
Or, same thing with, special needs kids. Like, it's lonely. These are
Yeah.
lonely things, but they
Yes.
don't have to be.
Right.
And so I think the biggest thing that I want to do with this second half of my life is try to find ways to open up, share, and hopefully help other people, by talking about my life.
Yes. Yep. I think that we have that in common. Like we both are really driven to, self-healing and then just showing up, genuine and authentic and creating a space and a place where people feel comfortable and secure in themselves, just admitting like, whoa, that felt really good that somebody else, has screaming fighting kids in the car, or
Yep.
somebody else like came from a really messy like home life and is now self-healing and like self-reflecting and growth and making things different, breaking generational curses. That is definitely, I totally agree, in this part of my life, like that is what I'm here for. I just want to show up as my true self and say like, hey, like even though it's messy, even though like you have all these bags or you have all of these non-ideal looking things, you can actually have success out of that. And who says that it's non-ideal? Who says
Right.
that, that is not actually what is going to be in you that you can use to help someone else? So, I'm really to that point also where it's like, let's just be genuine. Like,
Yeah.
Let's
put it
just
out
show
there.
up. Yeah.
Absolutely. I almost want a t-shirt where I just list like the different topics that if you have one of these, you want to talk about it, come over here, come see me.
Right.
And that's cheesy and I wouldn't do that, but, but I do, I am open. I'm an open book because I wasn't for a
Yeah.
long time, a
Right.
long time. And I feel like I try to again tell my daughter this. She's very she's 11 and a half, but I'm trying to look for the right word. Like she's very mature in the
Uh-huh.
sense of understanding her feelings and
Yes.
and that type of stuff. So I know what would be the way to describe that. I know you would be better at
Like
this.
self-aware. She's very
Yes,
like self-aware. Yeah.
very self-aware and can be with other kids.
Yes.
And I know that she will actually share her story with a kid at school that she sees struggling and help them feel like they can open up, which
Right.
I'm like, wow, because
Yes.
I couldn't do that until I was in my 40s. And
Right.
you're
Yeah.
doing this now. So I love that. But I know for me, what I want people to see is that how I wasn't for the longest time. And I feel like I lost so many opportunities in my life.
Mhm.
Like there was so much that I was so closed off that there were so many things that I didn't enjoy or I
Mhm.
didn't take part in. And I let my trauma and my, I don't know if problems are the right words, but I let all of that stuff run my life.
Right. Yeah.
And I missed out. I
Right.
missed out
Yeah.
on so much. And I don't want that for my daughter. I don't want that for my stepson. I have two stepkids from my ex-husband, and they're a lot older. And I look at them and they're also very self-aware and so intelligent. And I look at them and I just hope that they feel the same way, that they can share and just not miss out on anything,
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
know?
Like
Um,
not hold back.
yeah, exactly. I think that when we do that, it's not just our personal life that is affected either. It can be our professional life, like
Yes. Yep.
creating success in the mess. Like we're messy in so many ways, whether it was, a hot mess moment with your kids in the morning or a week where you have some challenging things. If you don't try to work through them, it's going to affect every aspect of your life.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes. And I think it really is important. I recently saw a quote that it basically was saying, like, if you want to find your purpose here in life and your passion here in life, look at the places where you were the most broken, work on healing those and sharing that with others. And there's your purpose and your true passion right there. And that hit me so much because, like you said, a lot of times, you kind of want to hide back behind a wall, or you kind of want to put all of that in a box and not let people see that. And in the only way to actually heal through that is to actually feel that. Like you can't
Yep.
heal if it's sitting over in a box. And
Right.
so you have to actually take that out of the box and you have to actually feel your way through
Mhm.
that,
Yep.
until it doesn't really feel like it's gonna hinder you or that it needs to go back in a box,
Yep.
type of thing. And I think so many times we want to just put it in a box, whereas now I think I know, like with our kids, we are really purposefully like helping them kind of just feel through it in the moment instead of like just going and putting it in the box. And I know for me growing up, like that's how my mom handled things. Like if there was a rug, you lift it up and you sweep it under there, you put the rug back down and then it stays over there.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
like, you're not healing through anything. You're not gonna like actually like grow through that if it's just sitting over there under a rug. And
Yep.
so for that's my path, my goal in this messy mom life. And I don't get it right all the time. Like I am
Oh, it
no by
does.
no means
Yeah.
like right all the time, but like I want my kids are also pretty self-aware, and I want them to like not put it under a rug, not put it under a box, just kind of work through it. And then, use that as a light of connection and hope with, other people instead of feeling like ashamed that it's there.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, in our family, like that is definitely the reoccurring theme, I think, is like to feel ashamed that there's all this like toxic, muddy stuff over here under a rug. And,
Right.
I
Well,
just,
that's what they did. I mean,
yes,
our grandparents, that generation, they didn't
yeah,
talk about this stuff. It was,
no,
you felt ashamed, right?
yes, yep,
And I grew up, putting everything in a box. And I'm actually in counseling again. I made the decision to go back, and yesterday was my first session after, starting back again. And I was telling my counselor that I had all these boxes and they were all like in me. I knew
yeah,
they were there. I knew what each one was about, and I wanted to take them out and
mm-hmm,
free them. And that, because she asked me, she's like, okay, so what brought you here today? Like, what would you like to talk about? And I remember I described to her this story, and I hope I don't sound like a crazy lady, but I described to her how so when I was married to my daughter's father, there was this faux kidnapping scam that
mm-hmm,
occurred. And it was very traumatic for me because I was the one who was on the phone being threatened. But also afterwards, there were reporters and newspaper. I mean,
yeah,
it wouldn't stop. I had people calling me at work saying, where do you want to set up? And I'm like, set up what? And they're like, I'm almost here. I'm like, who are you? Like, why are you like, no, I'm
right,
not doing this. So I did actually wind up doing one interview, and that didn't make it better. It made more people call. But anyways, so we had this experience, and I would wake up in the morning and I would hear the voice of this person who had called. I would hear them and I would start to have a panic attack. And I remember I was in the shower and I said, I really need to cry. Like I need to let it out. But I
mm-hmm,
felt like I couldn't. I felt like I was so like buttoned up, and everything was tucked away, and I was strong for my family. And so I'm like, all right, you got to do this. So I like allowed myself to, I felt like I was an M&M. I'm not even kidding. That's why I said people are gonna think I'm crazy. I'm like, crack that shell, that hard shell,
uh-huh,
let it out, feel it,
right,
and then it'll be gone. And I did that, but after I cried, after I let it go, I remember feeling everything sort of close back up again, like that candy hard shell, like repaired itself. And then I was back to like composed mom that
mm-hmm,
could be strong for her family.
yeah,
And so when I think about that, I think about this a lot. I'm like, where did I get that from?
right,
Like, where did I learn that?
right,
Family of origin,
yes,
that's huge. I mean,
yes,
it's such a big part of who we are. And I don't think everyone's aware of all of the parts of their family of origin,
right, yes.
sitting down and thinking about the good ones and the bad ones.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, that is like such a hard situation that you went through. And I think like you're exactly right. Like we feel it, and then we have to really think like that's interesting, and then where did that come from? Like, why do I feel like I have to be so protected? Why do I feel like, and then like from that point on, telling ourselves, parenting our little inner child in there that
Right.
like developed that theology that we needed to have the candy coating,
Yep.
shell around us that
Exactly.
no, we actually don't have to. We're actually safe. We're actually 100 and completely safe right here. And we're gonna like really figure this out. And we don't really have to have that candy coat shelling. And that's a process. I mean, it sounds so much more simple than it actually
Oh,
is.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna allow myself to cry, and I'm gonna crack the shell. But no, it's years and years and years of, like you said, sweeping it under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this was years and years of just feeling like I had to be the strong one, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And so that took a while to let that go.
Right.
I did unpack that one. That
Yeah.
one's unpacked, thankfully. But yeah, it was, I mean, the visual that I see describing that candy coating, I think is just a powerful visual for how so many people still are, holding these things in so that it doesn't, quote unquote, affect them. But it
Yep.
does, it
It
affects you.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you're right. It's amazing how like you feel unsafe as a child. And so you develop this technique of like, being the hero, being the strong one, protecting yourself because no one else is going to protect you, type of thing. And then you carry that on with you so far into life. And like, where did it come from? And a lot of times like we don't actually understand all of our, genetic, like not genetic, like like our
Family.
genealogy
Yeah.
parts.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like it's all so intertwined. And I think it's just such a journey. And I think that it's so necessary that we all kind of go through this
Mhm.
process. And I think it's amazing that you just shared that because
Oh,
um
thank you. That was a hard one. I wasn't planning on sharing that.
yeah, I think that's amazing. And I know that other people are going to relate to that because there's so many of us that felt unsafe, and our
Yeah.
little inner child at like 3 years old, 4 years old developed that,
Yep.
that I need to protect myself, which
Yep.
then
Oh, yeah.
led into like, I need to be perfect. I need to look like I have it together. I need to, and that affects us today as adults. And then
Oh,
that
yeah.
affects us as our kids. And so like, I love that you shared that and that there's going to be so many
Thank
people
you.
that listen to this and can like totally relate to that feeling and feel inspired and encouraged to make the counseling appointment to, this to like dissect that back and kind of discover like where did that come from and why did and be okay just in the messy part that it was like that doesn't actually define who you are. Those
Right.
are just what it was. Those are just
Yeah.
things and that is not actually you.
You're not weird. You're
Right.
not
No.
odd.
Or
You're,
in your words, the crazy lady.
yeah. Okay. Or the crazy lady. Yeah. I mean, I might
No.
still be nuts, but like, really, like, I think at least when I was growing up, it was like, well, that's weird. So don't tell anyone that,
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
you'll be made fun of. And
Uh-huh.
so, we grow up keeping all these secrets because we don't want to be different or weird or odd.
Right.
And yeah, and it just winds up hurting us. So now
Yes.
that I'm on what I feel like is the second half of my life and I've wasted all these years, my goal is live,
Yes.
and so to
Yep.
really fully live, unpack it all, get rid of it, and move on.
Yep. 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 And I think that's amazing. And I think that's like exactly what is gonna heal the next generations is by, us connecting and breaking that disconnect and like us healing our individual selves and pulling out these parts of us that really don't serve us. Like they really aren't, what we were created to be or who we were created to be or what actually, we truly are. It's just suits that we kind of picked up from experiences and put on to like that were given to us that that were never really ours to take. And so like we just kind of need to take those off so that we
Yep.
can allow ourselves and our future generations coming after us to
Yeah.
actually be themselves instead
Yep.
of having somebody else's suit on.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, their legacy.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things that I was kind of, disturbed about a little bit was, well, what is my legacy? I'm not where I wanted to be in life.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I leaving my kids? And something that my therapist said that I absolutely loved is she said she knows my daughter. That, she saw my daughter for many years, and my daughter switched to a different counselor in the practice, and now I'm seeing this woman. So there's 4 years of history, which is great. I love it. But she's like, your daughter is your legacy.
Yeah.
What you're
Yes.
teaching. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be a brick and mortar business. Like
Yep.
that's your legacy, how you
Yes.
raise her, how, what you teach her. And I was like, Wow, I have never thought of it like that, but yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think like I don't know, like for me, I feel the pressure of, feeling like I have to do so much, like I have to like provide so much breakage, like so many chains, in like really in reality, like one, there's probably more there than I even can see in them that's actually, different. But I don't have to do it all. Like I don't have to. I can just take us this far and then they, carry that growing and healing on. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I love that.
Well,
Yeah.
you and Corey, I mean, you guys do such a great job with teaching your kids that, letting them learn. I'm trying to think of how to say this. Like, for instance, I love that they're homeschooled, and I
Yeah.
love that they are able to work on areas that they excel in. Um, if they, choose to work on that area that day, and basically, I think you and Corey are raising them to very much be who they are. Very much to
Yes.
be individuals
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of follow whatever their own path is, in education and outside of education.
Yep.
And correct me if I got any of that wrong, but I
No.
feel like I'm always inspired. I mean, I've been thinking, from my own daughter, I'm like, would homeschooling be a better option?
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've asked you some questions about it, but I feel like today, even more than any time, is when we need to kind of examine what our kids are learning, whether it's from
Yeah.
us or whether it's from school, and
Yes.
deciding if that's what we want them to learn. And if it's
Yes.
not, then changing it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I love that you and Corey being a school teacher.
Right. Yeah,
I love
he
that.
left the school building and we're homeschooling because there was, just so much that we recognized that we wanted to do different. Like we wanted them to be different. And, like we encounter a lot of people's criticism and a lot of, messiness, in ourselves because we weren't raised that way. And he does have a teaching degree. And
Right.
so that's a lot that we have to like combat in us. Of how somebody told me the other day, you get to do it different for your kids than what what your life experience was. And so don't try to take your life experience or expectations from your schooling or your whatever and like even tie it to them because like you get to start the book fresh, like you get to do it different. And I don't know why, but that just like totally, was like a light bulb that went off because we have that like little voice in our head that's like, oh, they need to do X amount of hours a day. And then, not only in our head, like people actually will be like, I'm really concerned about their socialization. I'm really concerned. And, no matter how much in us we believe, there's, all of these parts of us that are still trying to like, dissect that
Oh yeah.
other talk out of there.
Right.
And it isn't perfect and it isn't like it is messy some days and we're learning as we go. Like I'm sure we're not doing this all all perfectly, but our goal is definitely to like grow them to be them instead of so controlled. And so we want the parts of them to shine that can shine and not just take sit down and be quiet and don't ask any questions, like
Mhm.
those kind of things, like and we talk through all of that with them. And it's hard some days, but it really is like we can really see such a difference in them than how we were. And so it's kind of amazing, really.
I think so too. I really do. I mean, I think so enough to be interested in, despite the homeschooling during COVID being rough
Yeah.
for my daughter and for we didn't do it very well.
Yeah.
But despite all that, I still kind of feel like it's something I'm considering. And it's the little things I hear from you about your kids and their journey. And I feel very inspired by that. And I
Yeah.
think that I love that what you said, you're letting them be their own individual. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I think that's our hope for, our kids, and then for everyone, really, no matter if you're going into your second half of life or you're a young little kid. Like, I think we like just having the conversation around that, like allowing that and accepting that from people is just what we need so much more of in this world, opposed to the alternative of, these expectations and these, things that we've placed. And so my hope is that, one, we can have more of these conversations, because I think this was amazing. And I know it's going to help so many people. You are so, like I said, you're my all-time favorite go-to.
Oh my
so
gosh.
why everyone else wouldn't feel the same? Like, I don't know. They're going to feel exactly the same as me. And so hopefully we can have some more of these conversations about messy mom life and messy life and undigging our,
expectations, all that stuff. Absolutely. And it really does relate to business. I know, like,
it 100% relates to business, because we as human beings and who we are, that's the first, like, that's the one thing. And then the rest of everything they're just shoot offs.
Yep, absolutely.
Of hiding, emotionally, or ever is going on in us, that's going to affect our parenting and our business, or working, our job. Like, even if you're working, you don't own a business, you're just working for somebody. Like, you are the main show, and then everything else is affected. So in my businesses, whenever I have focused more on self-growth and me, rather than I bought so many courses of how to do like technical type of things, and they didn't really make like, they weren't really magical. Like, it was when I started paying for like me, like more self-aware, self-growth mentor, coach, like type of thing that dealt with like my mindset and my blocks and my beliefs. That's when everything just changed, and in my business in particularly, it skyrocketed. So you're totally right. Like, it relates to business, it relates to parenting, it relates to family, like cousins and parents, and interactions with strangers on the street. Like, absolutely, it's everything.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
Yep.
Well, I have to thank you and Corey so much for inviting me on today, for Corey for letting me, sit in what would normally be his chair, and for just
he said anytime you want to sit in, you got it.
I would love to. We'll definitely do this again.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. And then if you want to connect with Leslie further, you can connect with her on Facebook through the Simply Brushed.
Yes, I think right now I'm just on Facebook, but my contact info is there, and I'm happy to, like I said, I'm an open book, so reach out.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, I love you.
I love you too, girl.
Thank you so much for listening. We know that we all get busy trying to do life, and our hope is that we can find ways to implement time and space to create a life we love living every day on our terms, right in the middle of all the messes of life.
We hope that you've been inspired and our conversation has helped you in some way, and it would be so amazing if you share this conversation with somebody that you think would really benefit from hearing it. You can text someone the link, or you can share it via email or on your social media pages. And please, we would love for you to leave us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, because it helps us so much. The more reviews we have, the more people that will find our show, and our ultimate goal is for everyone to feel inspired, to find ways to create their own success right in the middle of all the mess. And no, they are not alone in doing so.
And finally, we'd love for you to join our weekly email list so that we can connect on a deeper level, and you can always be in the know of our new release events and opportunities.